everyone, and welcome back to the Hobo Thingo podcast, but with this month's special segment, Coffee, Tea, and the NLC for the month of April. All right, so with me today, myself, I'm Crystal Cedino, the Training and Development Manager for the Native Learning Center, and I have my right-hand lady, Cora Anthony. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Cora.
Hello, everybody. I'm Cora Anthony, the Training and Development Specialist here at the Native Learning Center.
And last but not least, Gigi Palmer, who is the Executive Director of the Native Learning Center. Go ahead and say hi, Gigi.
Morning, good afternoon, good night.
Yes, whatever time.
Good day, wherever you're listening, whatever time it is that you jump on this podcast, we wish you good wishes.
Yes. I love that. Isn't that cool about these podcasts? You can be literally listening at day, night, right before bed, in lunchtime, in your car, at the pool, at the gym, anywhere.
I am a podcast car person. I love listening to podcasts while I'm driving, and it just I don't know, it just kind of exercises your brain at the same time. I mean, I love music. If my trip's a little bit longer, I really enjoy listening to music, but there's something about a podcast that just really gets you going. So I really like to listen to them in my car.
Definitely. You see, I'm more of a, as I'm getting ready type of lady. So when I wake up and I'm like putting on my makeup and doing my hair and stuff, then I have the podcast in the background and whatnot. And it really depends on the mood that I wake up in, because it can go from all ranges.
Okay, so the mood that you wake up, that's the particular podcast that you search for?
Well, it's just, as I wake up, wash my face, brush my teeth, and I kind of see what mood I'm in. And then I'm like, I go into like Spotify or like YouTube, and I'm like, which one am I gonna, it says it can go from like murder mystery.
It's just gonna wake up to the lovely sounds of a murder mystery podcast.
So there's this one episode or podcast that I listen to, and they just narrate about like serial killers and stuff like that, and it's just, but it's their background, like their childhood and things like that, and I'm like, I don't know why, it's oddly soothing early in the morning. Or they can go into like the NPR and like things that are going on in the world, or just something very menial about like pop culture. It just really depends on like what the brain is like asking for that morning.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I'm for sure a car podcast person, because I like, what I do in the morning is I'll like wake up, get ready, and as I'm like doing my makeup, I'll do TikTok videos. So so I'm like, my mornings for TikTok, and then my car rides for podcast. So we're
crazy how our lives just evolve around all of this new technology and social media. I mean, back in the day, it was like turn the TV on and the local news and what's the weather today,
Yep.
But I like in the evenings on the drive home. I like to listen to something. I like to listen to funny podcasts, like just this crazy. There's this one that's called "Dang Internet, You Scary," and they find this craziest things that are just not in the news, but kind of like off the wall, and they talk about it, and then they analyze it, and they're like, what if this happened to you or whatever? Like the latest one was just like so weird. It was this guy who was on vacation in Myrtle Beach, and in his hotel room, a cockroach went into his ear. I know it's not funny, but it's like, what? And they just took this, and they're like, okay, so was it a 5-star resort? Was it a hotel motel? Was it a, he said, like, you get what you paid for. Was it $29.99 a night? And he goes, no, it was a resort. And apparently the long term of it, like, really, like, Crystal.
I'm just like, absolutely not. No.
Yeah,
No.
like,
No. No.
like, how do you record that happening to you? Do you take your, and you go, take your picture? It just, but yeah, it's just off the wall stuff like that. And so I'm going home after a long day at the office and just laughing up a storm. People probably look, well, my windows are tinted, but you can still kind of see me.
No, yeah.
And I'm sitting at a light just dying laughing at some of the stuff that they come up with. But I like funny podcasts at the at the end of a work day. But yeah.
I listen to music on the way to work and from work because it's the only uninterrupted time where I can sing my lungs out without any judgment. It's like my own little personal karaoke. And so my windows aren't tinted, so everybody sees me just like
You're
hitting
just
every single note, every single note.
that,
Yeah, no.
they say, oh, look at Sierra and the
But then they hear me, and it's like, are those like dying cats? It's like,
That's so fun.
oh, that's great.
Well, for our listeners, let us know what type of podcast you listen to in the comment section of either the YouTube video that you're watching this on or when you're rating our episodes. Throw it in there. Let us know. Do you listen to murder mystery? Do you listen to comedy? Do you listen in the morning or in the afternoon? Let us know. Interact with us. We want to know.
What time do you listen to us?
Yeah.
Is it when you're having your coffee, tea, and the NLC?
Yeah. Let us know. Shoot us a message. Anything. But April, right? We're
Yes.
wrapping
Yes.
up April, and April was for those who talk about money, deal with money, handle their money. It was a financial wellness month, financial literacy month. Probably one of my favorite months. And we do here at the NLC a lot of topics covering financial wellness, literacy. We recently did wills versus trust, and we've done estate planning, and we've done financial planning for like becoming an entrepreneur and all of that stuff, which is I think really, really important and good because we want to stretch our dollars and we want our money to work for itself. So with that, let's just kind of like open up the conversation and talk about some of our favorite things. Do y'all ladies want to go first? Who wants to jump in?
I'll go ahead. I think one of um the biggest struggles people find when they think about like financial wellness and just like organizing themselves is the word budget, and it has such negative connotations. And this is a webinar that I'm going to be hosting pretty soon, and I'm super, super excited about because I love my budget. Like, I absolutely love it. I live it, I breathe it, I check it every single time. But it's not because it limits me, but it's because it's the way that I found to allocate to live the life that I like to live. So my nail budget is always there, my Uber Eats budget is always there, my Target shopping sprees, it's all embedded. So I'm never limiting myself, but I know exactly where my money is going, and that way I can treat myself. And so I embed those treats in there. So I never feel like, oh shoot, like this month I really want to go to Target and like get some, I don't know, a new purse or whatever, but I can't because my budget tells me no. My budget includes all of that, especially the Uber Eats, because listen, there are some days you get home and you're like, oh, I don't want to cook. I want to order some food or whatnot. But I feel comfortable doing so because of that. And it wasn't until I started taking courses on financial literacy and financial wellness and becoming more well versed on them that I started feeling just so much more comfortable in doing so. And it really has allowed me to save up money, live comfortably, and enjoy life. So I still travel and go out and do things, but I do it within measure, right? And I think that's when people kind of when you make a budget that's so tight, then that's when you go off the deep end, because then you feel stifled, and then you're like, forget this. I'm just gonna
It's
spend.
kind of like dieting, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you're so strict, and then when
Absolutely.
cheat day comes along, you just cheat all day. But if you sit down and you really create a sensible budget that meets your needs and what the things that are important to you, right? Then you don't feel like you need a cheat day, because you're embedding that throughout the whole month and whatnot. And then so to me, I'm very excited about it, because like, and Crystal knows this. I have my little notebook. I tally it. And it's just like a way of life for me right now. And I never feel like I'm going without, like, ugh, I need a day to spend, because I'm constantly saving and spending at the same time, but in a controlled way.
Right. And I agree. I think, and because I also instruct the class, if you've never attended, by all means join. But one of the things I also mention in there is that a budget is usually associated like negatively, or like people think of it negatively. And I get why, which is I guess why I don't like the term. I prefer, like spending plan. But to each their own. In any case, it is always associated negatively. And a lot of people think that just because you create a budget or a spending plan, you have to cut things out of your life. Now, I'm going to say, in certain scenarios or situations, you might have to do less of something. You might not be able to do as much depending on what your goals are, and in that class, we talk about that. But yeah, you don't have to go without. And something else that I learned too through another subject matter expert that teaches, financial wellness and all that stuff, Shantae Moore, something that she said, I was like, oh, that is such a good way of putting it too. She said, you should always know where your money is going. So like, let's say like you do Uber Eats, like Cora, like you should know in your head how much like you put into that category a month and where you're at. And I was like, oh, that's such a good way to kind of like compartmentalize like, your funds and all of that, so that, like you said, like you're not doing without, and
Yeah.
you've been doing it throughout the month. And oh, I like, let's say you set yourself a budget of like $100. You're like, oh, like I've only spent $25, this month, and I'm more than halfway through the month. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then you can have that roll over, and maybe you take the remainder and throw that into savings, like, so I don't know. I really like that. I liked how she said that, because that was like, oh yeah, you really should. You should know where your dollars are going, leaving, coming, and how much, you have in each category. But yeah, that's what I have on that. Other than that, though, I want to mention a book that also kind of changed my thought process too. And I'm sure a lot of people have heard of it. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Lewis, our marketing coordinator, actually recommended the book, and I was like, yeah, I'll eventually get to it. And I did eventually get to it. It's by Robert Kiyosaki. I may be saying that wrong, and Sarah Lecter. And the one thing that I think I took away the most from that book was the way that he talks about, I want to say, assets
Liabilities.
and liabilities. Yes, and liabilities, where he he mentions that, like, he just tries to change the way that you think about those things, and how liabilities aren't good. And that you should find a way to make your money kind of like work for you, and all of that. So it's a really good book, and just the way that because he actually draws like a quadrant, and I know he has a book on it specifically, but he draws a quadrant and he kind of shows the flow of your money, and how certain, purchases or things that you do are actual like liabilities versus like helping you. So it was an interesting way to kind of like think about your budget and the way that you spend, and all of that. So definitely a book worth reading. And then another one, so our YouTubers can see this book, How Money Works. And this one came from Shantae Moore. who is a certified financial educator, and she works with us. She's a subject matter expert. But I really loved this book. So How Money Works. It's by Tom Matthews and Steve Siebold, and it's perfect for like everyone. So whether you are of the older generation, younger generation, middle generation, it's very easy to read, and it has a lot of good tips in there. So I have this as reference material too when I'm teaching. I enjoy it. But yeah, that's what I got on that. I don't know, Jean, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I love it. I love that, you know, that budgeting is important for you, and spending plans are important to you, and that is a really good way of keeping track of everything. And I am also, I'm kind of a credit score junkie. I stay on top of my credit score and my credit report like constantly. And I like to use a credit card that gives back. You know, that those credit cards are important. My favorite is an airline card, so that I can continue to, you know, because at some point in the future, when I retire, I'd like to have those miles and be able to travel, so that I'm kind of planning for the future. And it's very important that, you know, when you charge your credit card, to pay it off immediately, and that truly helps your credit score to go up. You know, when I made it into the 800s, I had a party for myself. I was like, I did it. I was kind of like, when Kamala told President Biden, "We did it, Joe." I was saying to myself, "We did it, G. We did it."
I love it.
But yeah, and I'm going to be honest with you, and I know a lot of people have struggled, you know, in their lives, that, you know, it hadn't always been perfect. You know, when I was younger, decisions that you make when you're young that, you know, are less than favorable to your future. But we learn from that, and we learn by, you know, listening to subject matter experts like Shantae, and you know, and the two of you both of you all are certified in building Native communities financial literacy program. So I think it's important in teaching our youth that there's a lot of mistakes can be made, but there's a lot of mistakes that can be avoided. And in my generation, you know, in high school, you know, we didn't have these classes. They're not being taught. Practical classes are not being taught. They're being introduced finally,
right,
which is good, into, you know, the curriculum, but not the way we'd like to see it. You know, it should be more, you know, because of my certification with BNC years and years ago. I think it was 2014 when I first got certified. You know, I started teaching my grandchildren through those classes that we took for the youth. And so I thought it was important for them to learn at a young age. You know, that, and they are like, they watch their money. You know, they have spending plans. So I'm really proud of them but it took someone like me to have to, you know, show them how to do it.
right,
Which it should have been in school, you
right.
know.
I
But I'm
agree.
glad for the classes that we teach. I believe I believe you all are going to be participating in the Florida Indian Youth Summer Program in July, and they had that's a really great class that you guys will be teaching up there. I know that one year we had it, and they just got a kick out of the spending frenzy exercise, which was, and then the first question that you always ask, young people when it comes to money, is this a want or is this a need? And even as an adult, I'm like, I don't consider myself an elder, but as my tribe's age category, I'm an elder. I still ask myself that question, is it a want or is it a need? Do I really need this? Yes, I need these. A want, is treat myself to a really nice bag every once in a while, you know. And I treat myself to every once in a while a trip to the casino, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to have, a certain mindset and willpower that I am going in with X amount of dollars, and that's all I'm going to do. I like to go because I like it for entertainment purposes for myself. That's an entertainment. So I have a limit. It's just that. If I win, yay. If I don't, okay. So you just have to continue to have that mindset. And so I'm with you. This is like my favorite month, but we teach it all year long. It's part of our curriculum all year long, and I think that everyone should. We have some recorded webinars as well. If you missed the live webinars, to make sure that we encourage everyone to go back and take a look at the recorded webinars on some really, really good classes. And we are so appreciative of OWISTA and the work that they've done throughout Indian country. They are like leading the way with the building Native communities. They're first and foremost to do that. And so the number of individuals that have gone through the Train the Trainer program is just amazing. So to get that back out into Indian country, back out into our communities and our reservations is just amazing. And it just makes me feel really, really good about what they do and what you all do as well as certified trainers of that program.
Yep. I will say this. I think for me, the most beautiful part of financial literacy is that it's never too late to start. So just because like right now you feel like, oh, I'm in the hole and how do I get out of this hole? How do I bring up my credit score, or how do I pay off all this debt? Just having the intention to start, that's all that you need. And then it's never too late. Like I know it's funny that you mentioned your credit score. I was talking to my sister this week, and she just paid off one student loan, one of the three that she has left. But her credit score went down 40 points, and she was like, "This makes no sense because you're paying off debt. Then it's like the less lines of credit that you have, the less points, the more points that they take off, and things like that." And so we had to have a conversation. But I told her, it's calm down, breathe, like you went down, but it'll go back up. It's ever fluctuating, right? And so if you as a listener right now, you're like, oh my God, I'm in so much debt. How do I get out of it? Where do I start? You are already taking the first step by even reflecting on, I want to do something different. So don't think, oh, I'm too old to change things now or whatnot. No, it's never too late to start. It's always a good day to take control of your finances and seek out help and seek out trainings and seek out more resources and information to get you on the right path.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And stay on top of your credit report. All three agencies. I also like Credit Karma.
Yeah.
It updates your score. If there's any changes or any kind of funny business going on with your credit report, you'll get an alert and you'll be able to go in and take a look at it. Or you can sign up for each one of the agencies, TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax, and just stay on top of everything in there and review everything. And if you do it online, there are, you see something on there that's kind of out of whack, you can dispute it right there online, and they will give you updates on how they're handling it and what's going on with that. I had noticed on one of mine, and it wasn't on all three, it was on one of them, there was an unusual address, because it lists all the places that you live. If you if you're ever filling out some paperwork and you need to know where you lived like 7 years ago, just go to your credit report because it has all of them on there. Because I was like, 7 years ago, where was I? I remember the city, but what street was it? You can't remember zip codes from that long ago. I know I can't. But yeah, you go onto your credit report, you can see they're all there from way, way back. Like I think I had one listed on there when I was in college, but I had noticed on there was one I was like, I know for a fact I have never ever lived at this address. I don't even know whose address it is. So I became really concerned because I'm like, who has access to this? Who is using this address with my name? Maybe some. So I disputed it, and 2 weeks later, they had removed it. Another fun fact that is really encouraging, and Corey, you might remember which agency it is. I believe it's Experian. I think it's Experian that gives you the boost points.
Yep.
When you put that your whether you rent
Yeah.
your house or apartment, also all of your utilities and your phone service, so you pay all of those on time. It's Experian, yeah, Experian Boost. And so you can go in on that credit report and you can sign up for the boost. And so it ties your bank account or your debit card, I believe, to it. And every time you pay your rent, or it's mainly for people who rent, because if you have a mortgage, your mortgage is already listed on there.
Yeah.
All of your utilities, electric bill, gas bill, your phone, whatever phone service you have. So every time you pay it every month, it will boost your credit score on your credit report. So that's another way of getting those scores up there.
Yeah, no, and I think it's so important because, for example, last year I went to buy a car, and I'm not even gonna lie, I don't have the cash flow to go make a big down payment on a car or whatnot. But because I had really good credit score, when I tell you those people treated me like royalty. When they pull up my
Yes.
credit, they were like, "Which card do you want, ma'am? Like, pick your like you get the pick of the litter." And so I think a lot of people don't value their credit, or not value, they don't know the value of the credit score as much as they should. And I do the same thing as you. I don't do it with an airline, but I have a Visa rewards. So every month I pay my car, my utilities, I pay my groceries with that. And then I pay it off from my debit, from my checking account. So where my paycheck comes in. So I pay it off every single month.
I'm
And
with
so,
you. That's what
yeah.
I do.
So I'm getting all of these rewards, and it's cash rewards. So I'm getting cash back. So at the end of the month, I'm building my score and I'm getting a little bit back because of it. And so I automatically put those cash rewards into my daughter's saving account. So it's like I didn't even count on those, so she can have them. But it having a really good credit score, it really does open up a lot of doors. And like I said, you could have, like, let's say worst case scenario, like a 500, 600 credit score right now, but you can only go up from there. So now is the perfect time to really sit down, look at where is my money going. I had to have that come to Jesus moment with myself, because I was like, okay, I have a good job, and then, like, I'm a smart lady. Where is my money going? And I had to sit down with my bank statements and really allocate and be like, okay, I'm spending this much. And like you said, is this what I really need, or is this what I really want? And where can I use my money to be smarter with it? And once I started like making those little small changes, I'm telling you, my credit score went up, my savings went up. And so I can still live comfortably and enjoy life and take trips and things like that. But I do it now with a peace of mind instead of, you know what, I'm just gonna put it on the card and figure it out later. No, now I go and I'm like, I can have fun because I know it's paid for. Kind
Right.
of a situation.
It's mindful spending.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. All right. So
That's
isn't this month?
great. That's great.
Yeah.
Good talk, girls. Good talk.
Isn't this month mental health awareness month, or right? Am I right? Or no?
That one is next month,
Okay.
April. Okay, so I want to know who the people are that sits down and creates these months. Okay, so they created Financial Literacy Month, but they also created April is Stress Awareness Month. How'd you do those two in this?
You know why? Because you're stressed about your finances.
Well, yeah, like, okay, so let's talk about all your money problems. Stop getting stressed out. Like, who did that? Who created that? You know?
I do. I want to meet that person too. I want to be like, can you make a crystal awareness month?
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, April is Stress Awareness Month, and you know, it's not sure why April was selected. I personally probably would have selected December because I think that's probably stressful for people with, you know, planning for the holidays, planning, you know, purchasing and all that entails that. So I don't know, but so yeah, let's talk about ways that we relieve our own stress if we have any, and you know how folks in our tribal communities, you know, can become less stressful.
Well. So I don't mind sharing this because I share it across my personal social media platforms. So I suffer from depression and anxiety. They're best friends. That's what I like to say about them. Those two are best pals. They normally come hand in hand together. But you know, there's a lot of people who suffer from anxiety, just that alone. So I will say, you know, this is not me encouraging people to go, you know, get medication or anything like that, but I do take medication. That, number one, has helped me significantly. And then also pairing that with I journal quite a bit, and that relieves a whole lot of stress, because a lot of the time when you're talking about stress, I don't know, in my case at least, a lot of it comes from like creating scenarios in your head. Corey and I talk about this, the story I'm telling myself. That's what we normally say. So you create this kind of like story in your head, and then you know, and then you're like this. So journaling for me is very big, because you get those thoughts out, so you're jotting them down, and then you can read it back, and then oh, this is I'm a little nutty. Like I'm going, you know, I'm thinking, you know, a little too much, or I can see like where I might, I don't know, not necessarily being irrational, but just, you know, like, oh, all right, that's not entirely true, or just something along those lines. And I think just getting it out and writing it, ooh, that relieves a lot of stress for me, at least. And then there's also yoga and exercising. I enjoy that too, so that helps. That's a good like energy release. I noticed that with me, it's a lot of it's like releasing, like finding, you know, an outlet to kind of like put it into. And then at the end of that whatever I've picked, I feel a lot less stress and I feel a lot more calm and, oh, okay, I'm good now, that kind of thing. So I'll open it up to you guys though.
Well, I'll say this. I know. So, and you guys know this, well, I know Crystal knows this. I suffer from alopecia areata, which is stress-induced alopecia, where I literally lose my hair because I'm so stressed. Yeah, so it's a little intense here in the TDD department, but one of the things that helped me first was going to therapy. Like there are things that you just can't really talk through with yourself, and having a professional come in and give you the tools and the resources always helps. I know that was life changing for me. But also I identifying what is stressing you out, because in the storm, and I don't know if you guys saw that movie, oh, what is it called, Soul, in Disney?
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
I felt so identified in that movie, because when the little blob is like in the storm of the anxiety and the fears and everything, like he couldn't really identify. And I was like, oh my God, that is me every single day. Like it's just a storm of things, of thoughts. And so working with a therapist and just really reflecting and whatnot, I identified like what is stressing me out, and is trying to find that life balance where I can be a good mom and I can be productive at work and I can be present and meet all of these deadlines, because sometimes we have so many things on our plate that we don't understand, like family relationships, friendships, and romantic relationships, and all these work deadlines and things like that. And it's just, there's only one of us and so many other things to take care of. And sometimes you're feeling overwhelmed, but you don't even know what exactly is overwhelming you. So trying to like sit with yourself and identify what is it, and say, do I have control over this? No. And then let it go. That I think that's really changing. And one of the things that really, really helped me, I'm part of this women's group, and we meet every other week, and we just talk about what's going on in our lives, and hearing other people that are struggling with the same thing you're struggling, and you're like, okay, I'm not alone. We can help each other, and what has worked for you and things like that. That has also been life changing for me, because sometimes when you're at that stress level, you feel like you're on a sinking boat by yourself, and there's like no life, like there's no lifeline or anything. And so having a community that supports you and talking it out, you don't have to go through this by yourself. So if in your tribal community you have like a group that you can meet and discuss what's stressing you guys out, what's bringing you down and things like that, sometimes just saying it out loud will make a world of a difference. So, yes, and try not to lose your hair. So, yeah.
Yeah, so are there different levels of, like you said, your alopecia is stress related? Are there different levels, like, because I know everyone knows it's been in the news lately with Jada. People are just now realizing that was, what she suffers from.
Yeah, no, there's different kinds of alopecia. So there's like traction, when you like put your hair up in a ponytail too tight and you just start losing it. There's just alopecia, which is your immune system kind of attacks itself. Alopecia areata is stress induced. So I've noticed, and I've told Crystal, the when I'm particularly like stressed out and I can't, like, it's right here, like at the very top, I get like a quarter size bald spot, and it literally happens overnight. Like I'll wake up and my hair's back and I have no hair. And so there have been times in my life, right, where I have a lot of things going on at work. I'm a single mom. I have family, like personal stuff, just everything compiles. And when I tell you, I look like a Dalmatian with all these little white spots all over my head. And I'm just like, okay, well, this is a look. We're gonna figure it out. we're gonna make it work. I remember there was a time in my life that everybody thought it was like, oh, because I was trying to be a hipster or whatever. And when I had long hair, and I shaved the whole side of it, but I shaved it because I had a bald spot. And everybody thought, oh, look at Cora being cool. And it's like, no, look at Cora being bald.
Well,
But no.
You did say, didn't you say that like since like being here, because like because like
Yes,
it's help
yes.
like balancing and all of that.
And
So
so that's part of it. When you identify what's really triggering you, then you can make informed decisions as to what's going to better my quality of life and whatnot. And so that's one of the reasons why I ended up here at the NLC, because I was like, there's this particular situation that's just not this. It just ain't it.
I was gonna say that it ain't it.
It ain't it. And so kind of changing it and changing your environment. And I hate to say this, but sometimes you have to like drop people out of your life that you may love them, but if they're stressing you out and they're not bringing anything positive, and I've had to do that. I've lost lifelong friendships because they weren't adding peace and happiness and love into my life, and they were just adding stress, and I identified that. But it doesn't, it's not something that happens overnight. It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of self-reflection. But I think the key is what is stressing you out? You're stressed, but what specifically is stressing you out? Because sometimes when you are in that mindset, it's really hard to separate facts from feelings. So I'm feeling X, Y, and Z because of the facts. So let's focus, because what you can change is the facts, you know? So yeah, but my alopecia areata, it literally, like when things trigger you, you start seeing how like you'll shed more. And that's why I have my hair short, because it's the easiest way to kind of just be like, oh no, this was intentional. Type of thing. So
Crazy. I remember when you first told me that, I was like, whoa.
yeah.
And I thought I had anxiety. You know what I mean? And not to compare, but like, I will say this, like everyone, like no one is suffering more than the other. Like you should not think of it that way. You should
Absolutely.
not. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Everyone's scenario situation is totally different. Like for example, mine's literally a chemical imbalance. You know what I mean? Like, and I have family members like that as well that suffer from other forms of depression or other mental, illnesses, or you know what I mean, issues, and so on and so forth. So don't ever compare, yourself to other people. Your situation is yours, and you are allowed to feel what you feel. And I think the most important part is to, like what Cora says, pinpoint where that stress is coming from, and then how can we make it better? How can we improve? How can we, make our quality of life, better, just overall, what's going to make us happier or feel more calm and settled, so.
I will say, not being ashamed to talk about it.
Oh my
Like
God, yeah.
I make so many jokes and whatnot that has helped me deal with everything. And I think especially like in our tribal communities and whatnot, bringing it to light, because like I said, you might feel like, oh my God, why am I feeling this way? But there's other like community members that are feeling the same way as you. And if we're really going to build and develop sustainable, lasting tribal communities that are empowered, part of it is, this is how I feel, this is what I'm going through, how can we support each other and how can we build each other up and whatnot. And I think that's a beautiful component um of just building, like I said, building successful, sustainable tribal communities. I know here we do what's with Dr. Tonema, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. He'll do Tonema, thank you. They do like virtual WebEx meetings and they give resources. And I think that's so beautiful, because all the tribal members can jump in and just listen to like other perspectives and share their situations and get resources from an expert. And I think that's step one in dealing with stress and being aware that there's stress within our communities and that there's areas that we need to work on, but not that there's always a stigma and like shame. Don't be ashamed. We're all going through something.
Right.
We're all going
You're
through
not
something.
weak. You're not weak, because I feel like that's always that part of that stigma. You're weak if you have this, and it's like, no, we're not thinking that way anymore. We're moving forward. Like this is what we're dealing with, and this is how we're going to handle it. You know what I mean? We're going to talk about it. We're going to figure out a way to resolve it if there's something we can do about it. And we're going to use our communities to uplift one another, to, you know what I mean? Like, to help each other, to, you know what, you're feeling down. I see you. I recognize this. Let me see what, you know, do you need anything? Is there any way that I can help? I think that's
Right,
so important.
right.
So important.
Yep.
Yeah. So, oh, I could go on about this forever. I love this
Well,
topic.
It is Stress Awareness Month, so you know we're here to help. You know, and this is this is one way, and it also it helps us to talk about it to you, and I think it serves as an example that you know you can talk about. I mean, you know, here we are women of color, and our those that came before us, you didn't talk about that.
Correct.
You know, it was taboo for we're the three of us are indigenous but come from slightly different cultures, but we're actually the same culture.
Right.
And in our households, you know, I know that my mother wouldn't have been able to talk to her family members about it. It was
Right.
it's taboo. You don't talk about it, you sweep it under the rug. But it's different nowadays. We can talk about it, and it is healing to talk about it.
Yep.
And I know that when you do talk about it, that's one of the ways of healing yourself. You know, Crystal, for example, you know, the way you brought it up when we were sitting in a meeting one day, and you know, and it was like, okay, well, that's good. She's able to talk about it. She acknowledges it, and she doesn't let this stop her and deter her from being an amazing manager at the NLC, you know? So I think it's great. And, you know, and you all know that the way we are here at the NLC, we're like a family. And our doors are always open to come and, you know, it's something bothering you that you want to talk about. Our doors are always open. That's what we love about it here. And as you all out there in podcast land and YouTube land know, the three of us, we love to talk. Okay, so we've been sitting here 51 minutes just talking away, and it's very healing, and it feels good, and it feels good to share. That's what we're all about. We share knowledge in tribal communities and tribal, you know, with all things NAHASDA, and that is, you know, our homes and healthy homes is very, very, very important. And one of the things that I truly enjoy doing at the end of each and every work day is going to my exercise class. So I'm kind of, you know, there's two of them that you can just really get the stress out. One of them classes that I do is Zumba, where you just let your hair out and you just get it all out, and the music's just so good, and you got the salsa going on, you know, and and it just, the endorphins just go, oh, and so everything, you know, you just feel so good. So I do that immediately after a long day at work. And the other one is yoga, as Crystal mentioned. Yoga, I tell you what, when I leave the office and I get into the yoga classroom and I lay the mat down, and the first thing that she does before we do anything is we lay flat on our backs, the lights are off, and it's just that calming music, and just doing breathing while laying on your back, and you just inhale through your nose and you exhale everything negative, just anything that's on your mind or whatever. And that first 5 minutes of class is just amazing. You cannot even imagine. I know a lot of people say, yoga, I can't do it if I get on the floor. My yoga class, okay, first of all, I live in a 55 and older community. So my gym is people who are 55 and older. The ladies and gentlemen, there's two men, that are in that yoga class, they're older than me, and I'm 63. There's a lady in there that is 87 years old, and she, and our trainer's 58. So, and she does, she's very mindful of, because our bodies are older, et cetera, the techniques aren't as crazy, like, taking your foot and putting it behind your back, that type of stuff. But she has us do downward dog and, child pose and the majority of the yoga poses. And so, but she tells you, if you can't do it, just do a variation of it, and anything helps. And by the time we leave there, I mean, we are all smiling, and I mean, it's just joyful, just to release everything, just to take the time and release everything out is like amazing. So that's my favorite thing to do is to do any type of exercise after work is very, very helpful.
Yeah. And for those who aren't aware, because I didn't realize until a friend told me, there's also aerial yoga. And I know that sounds kind of like scary because it's like you're in the air. What?
Is that the
ropes? Yeah, the
little ribbons,
the hammock?
Yeah.
They call it a hammock. And listen, I know a lot of people that aren't flexible. By the time you leave that class, you will be very flexible, and it is very relaxing. And just as you said, like instructors that I've come across, like if you can't do something specifically, you do a variation of it, or you just continue to do the current pose that that you can do. And listen, my favorite part of that class is probably got to be the end, because you kind of like at the end of the class, I don't know, the ones that I've attended, you kind of get in your hammock like a cocoon, and like you have your feet in like the handles, and oh my god, the music is on, the lights are off, and she has like this like strobe light kind of like thing, like with green little stars and blue little stars, and that goes on the ceiling, and you're just there, and she's repeating like the last like things to like calm you and bring you down. And oh man, every time I leave that class, I'm like, that was exactly what I needed. That was exactly what I needed.
I'll end with this. Sometimes even just walking.
Oh my God.
When we were at home, I would do a 2 mile walk, like in the middle of the day, and the breeze was hitting the sun, like getting that vitamin D from the sun, like just kind of rejuvenated me. And just kind of for a second in that silence, just walking, like without like a purpose, without like, oh my God, I have to go get groceries. It's just walking for the sake of walking. Really cleared my mind as well when I was stressed out, and really, really helped me. It would, oh my God, it would center me so much. And then I would come back and like sit in front of the computer. I was like, oh, I feel refreshed, right?
There you go. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
But I know I absolutely love this conversation, but I do want to bring something, because today it is Earth Day. Well, it was yesterday, but we're celebrating it today, Earth Day. And I came across this news, and I don't want us to end before we mention that, but I thought it was really, really cool. that the U.S. Secretary of Energy, Jennifer Granholm, she actually went and visited the Navajo Nation, and they discussed their future on renewable energy. And they are going to be able to, they're constructing a solar microgrid and a battery storage to provide clean electricity for 24 tribal homes. And I don't think that our tribal communities get enough attention because, in all honesty, Indian country is at the leading edge of renewable energy and creating housing solutions that aren't dependent on fossil fuels and things like that. And they don't get enough credit. Like, they don't get enough credit at all. So I really wanted to highlight that because I was reading about it this morning. I was like, oh my God, that is so cool. They're at the leading edge of where we should all be, where we should all be trying to move into renewable energies and whatnot. So I just wanted to highlight that really quickly before I forgot.
Yeah, maybe we'll get them to come to our 5th annual
Fingers crossed, right?
next year and talk about all the greatness that they're doing in their community. That's amazing. And yeah, and Navajo, their reservation land base is huge. So this is that's great. 24 homes. That's amazing.
Yeah, they have the Kayenta solar facility, and it provides over 55 megawatts of solar energy, electrifying approximately 36,000 homes on the Navajo Nation. That to me is amazing.
Yes.
And I think it should get so much more coverage, and that other communities, non-tribal communities, should be looking to tribal communities like the Navajo Nation to say, like, what are y'all doing? Because we need to do that ourselves,
Yes,
right?
yes, and that's what's so great about our conference is that, those success stories and those best practices, what we bring forth, others can see this tribe is doing something amazing over here. I'm going to take this back and do that same thing at my tribe. So that's wonderful. I love hearing about that. Congratulations, Navajo. Yes.
That is really cool. And I agree with you, Cora. I think, and it's crazy, so funny because last night I was having a conversation with friends about this, like renewable energy, and they're like, "Oh, I'm not entirely sure why, there's so much funding going into it. I don't see a whole lot of projects." And I'm like, that's so weird because on my end, I see so many projects being done. And so, I was educating them about Indian country. And yeah, it's like all of them, they were like, "Oh, I really didn't realize." And I go, "Yeah, I mean, money's being allocated here, and there are, you know, areas of the country where, and tribes specifically, are getting this done. Like, they're creating jobs, they're helping others, do the same thing. They're sharing the wealth and they're moving forward, and and all of that." And I mean, for anyone who knows anything about tribes, that is the mentality. We share, we help our communities, we, hand in hand, like, we're out there, tribes helping tribes. So I don't know, I think it's fantastic. So, and I agree, there needs to be more coverage on it as well, for sure. All right, G, what do you have? What you got?
You know what? I don't have anything else. I enjoyed this so much.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed it. I think we covered the month very well, and I'm looking forward to next month with what we've got going on. You guys want to give everyone a hint what we got going on next month?
Yes. So, for those who aren't aware, we're finishing April, we're heading into May. May is Small Business Month, and I'm really excited about it because we're going to be doing a series of webinars, which is going to lead into a workshop on how to start your small business. And if you know anything about Native communities, there's lots of small businesses, lots of entrepreneurs, lots of people who want to become entrepreneurs. And I mean, not just in Indian country, in general, in the world, you know what I mean? How great is it to be able to work for yourself? So we're doing that, and then a bunch of other, webinars that complement that. And then we'll, at the end of the month, be covering everything that we discussed there. So
And our next Coffee, Tea, and NLC, we'll talk about that, and we may have a surprise guest, a successful small business owner. So fingers crossed we can get that done, and we'll be able to talk about how they started and what type of business they have. And so that'll be really exciting. So
definitely.
Next month will be fun.
Be on the lookout, y'all.
Yeah.
Be on the lookout.
Yeah, we had so much fun. I'm not even talking about all this other news. That's fine. This was fun. I had a blast.
This was a very good episode. I love it.
Very good.
So I guess to wrap it up, we talked about Financial Literacy Month, what we've done at the Native Learning Center to contribute to that. And we've also talked about how April is Stress Awareness Month. I didn't even know that until G brought that up, and I was like, whoa, all right, I can definitely talk about this. So that was good. And then Earth Day, which was yesterday, April 21st, I believe. And yeah, so thank you, Cora, for sharing that tidbit. And with that, I'll let you, Cora, close it out.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us for yet another Coffee, Tea, and the NLC episode. And remember, if you like us, like, subscribe, leave comments on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Simplecast. And we will see you next month, or you will hear us next month, I should say.
Hopefully you're seeing us too. Hopefully you're going on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, true. Yes.
But,
please go to our website, www.nativelearningcenter.com. There you can find registration links under the Cathedral webinars for all our small business webinars and the workshop that we're going to have on small business. And yes, please go to our YouTube channel, leave us some comments. Remember, let us know when you're listening to us and whatnot. And we look forward to another episode next month.